Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another Christmas spoiler review. Today we're quickly covering the Lifetime movie Hot Chocolate Holiday. And yeah, every so often I like to throw in my Christmas movie reviews some Hallmark and Lifetime films. You know, something that kind of piqued my interest because uh, it's a weird guilty pleasure. Like it's a lot of these films are such like obviously cheesy, obviously corny, and by and large they're paint by numbers. But every so I mean, like I check them out. It's kind of like a personal tradition. It's weird because like back in the day I wouldn't even look at these kind of things. Like when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't look at these things or give it like a second glance because I like the a nice little Christmas special from my TV shows, when I was growing up. But now it's like, I don't know, it's, like trashy, Hallmark cheesy Christmas films. But every so often, I come across something that kind of piques my interest. And it's like, okay, this is not a stupid premise, so let me just check it out. I mean, there's others that I reviewed uh, last year. One in particular, it's like forgot they had Thanksgiving in the title, but uh, that and Menorahs and Mistletoe is one of those Hallmark Lifetime movies that I reviewed last year that I point out. You can check out that video. I fully explain that sometimes writers and directors like to, you know, relatively stay on script. It's kind of like with CW kind of stuff. That sometimes they do certain cliche things that you expect from a CW network. So Lifetime and Hallmark has that same kind of mindset. There's expectations of what comes into these kind of films, but every so often, uh, some writers and directors like to go off script to do something unique. And that's why I like Mistletoes and Menorahs, because you rarely get such uh uh good movie centered around not only Christmas but also sharing in the fact that there's a Jewish holiday in the mix, and highlighting that is very important, and you end up learning something. And and like the Thanksgiving one that I mentioned, I'm blanking on it. Love at the Thanksgiving Day Parade or something like that. Uh, I thought that was kind of quirky but fun, and it's like the guy there seems like the more sensible guy, and because here's the thing, a little personal nitpick, but they almost always do this: have a best friend pushing the person into into this relationship with a person they just met. Like as I'll get into the movie eventually, uh, it's like the local guy comes help out at this business, and like the girl is like ain't got no time for a guy because she's like concentrating on work, blah blah blah, and the friend like, oh, he's cute. It's like go talk to him. It's like she fucking met him. Like calm the hell down. Why don't you go talk to him? Uh, you know, Thankfully, it's hardly any of that kind of stuff there because in the Thanksgiving, Love at the Thanksgiving Day Parade, it's like just she is technically in a committed relationship, and we won't find out this guy is a kind of a smug. I won't say a smug jackass, but it's like, he didn't consider her feelings like that. I don't think he was like a bad guy, but just kind of self-involved. But the guy, the guy she ends up with, isn't trying to push and pursue her. Uh, uh, and you can watch my video. I get more in depth on that, but it's just like, it's just some of a smarter writer behind that. That you still play to the same beats of a Hallmark thing, but you do it in your own way. That's kind of refreshing. Anyway, uh, uh, hot chocolate holiday. All right, we meet the main character. Get this, Colette, as in chocolate. Like Jesus, that's another thing. It's like, oh my god. Even if like I don't care for a certain Hallmark or Lifetime Christmas film, I will praise it if they have a main lead character, and it's typically a woman they do this to, that isn't that doesn't have a name reflected after the holiday or a thing they into profession wise. It's like they usually have like a girl named Eve or Holly or Colette or Mary. Uh, God help me, they go with Christmas. Like, last name Christmas. Oh, you must really love the holiday. And of course, they hate it because people just make fun of it and stuff like that as their children and blah, 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 blah. Or Nicholas, or that kind of thing. It's like, dear God, if like I give any one of those bad Lifetime stuff, Hallmark stuff that like I actually do not care for, I give it one thing if they bother to just give a lead character just a normal ass name. Not to say Eve or Mary ain't normal names, but it's just like you could have picked any name for that character if you're making this movie. You don't have to drive it home so hard. Uh, anyway, Colette, played by Aubrey Reynolds. They got Marcus, played by Johnny Swinson, who looks like a discount Sean Ashton Iceman from the X-Men, if you don't know. You got Susan Folan as Sandra, Colette's mother. Well, that's the three main people. You also got like their each one of their little best friends. Colette got a couple of employees she works with, and then Marcus has a business partner and his wife who he is associated with. And Colette runs this hot chocolate, kind of cafe thing. And of course, they really want to push. That's another thing. They, a lot of these, stuff, not is like a bad thing. As I mentioned plenty of times before when I review these kind of films, they really want to push for that, love for the brick and mortar mom and pop stuff. And yeah, you should definitely support those. But then driving that kind of crap, for many, many years. And, it's like, the big city business people want to drive people out. Bleh. Like, it's like, yeah, sure. Like Walmart and, like Amazon, they're, kind of like, I want to say shitty places, but they don't necessarily help. But I wouldn't want to say it's just business because they put good people out of business 9 times out of 10. But you don't treat them like they're all like just crap people, and like businesses like that doesn't provide any kind of service. So I just think it's like a nice balance between the two. You don't put the other down just to raise the other up. I'm just saying personally. We all shopped at Target. We all have gone to Walmart. We all use Amazon. So like and I don't think that's gonna go away anytime soon. So like, kind of like, you know, yeah, make sure you promote the mom and pop stuff, but I think you could just like tone down the anti, you know, you know, big business or whatever, you know. Anyway, uh, she's on the verge of merchandising this specialized hot chocolate that her grandmother taught her how to make, and she's trying to work with this business guy, a retail, headhunter kind of guy to help bring. She's trying to figure out like a way to uh, uh, take certain thing the mix or ingredients or whatever to properly give it like a good shelf life when they move it into stores so people can buy it and make it at home a lot easier. But she's trepidatious about it because like she doesn't know if it's a good idea to market her grandmother's not the recipe, but it's just like her signature stuff, the grandmother's past. And apparently she was like very strict on her way of making this hot chocolate. And you see pictures of this woman. God, like you look at her like, God, she's ancient. It's like she's like literally on death's door ancient. I mean, it's like ancient by the standards of the kid being Colette being like 10 or 11 or something like that. It's like, God, this woman's like, literally like pushing it with in the 80s at the very least. So you get the Marcus, who's, I was gonna call him like Iceman because that's what he looks like to me. He just looks like Iceman. Iceman moves into town with his business partner, Discount Christopher Judge from the Kratos God of War games. Because you look at this film and you compare him to Christopher Judge, who voices Kratos in the recent God of War games, they look oddly similar. So he moves into town, opens up his own shop right next to hers, where he provides a lot of desserts and his own blend of hot chocolate. Now, they had this little moment at this little fair or festival thing, and that's where you first meet him. And she provides him with like a free hot chocolate. They share a little conversation, and just to be neighborly, the next day she stops over and purchases his hot chocolate just to show support because she knows how it feels to, struggle, with open up a new business, and they point out how hard it is open up like restaurants or cafes, things like that. It's usually with the I can't say this freaking word, statistics. I f that up, but you know what I mean. Reflecting, business like these, how often, they tend to fail versus how many turn to success. So she is like, she's taken aback when she takes a sip of this thing, and she's like, wait a minute. She goes to her mother, asks her to taste this. She's like, oh, this, I don't, this tastes just like your stuff, like your usual stuff. I was like, well, that's the thing. That's not mine. That's the new guy's blend that he gave me. And it's like, I think he stole my, grandma's recipe. And it's like everybody's asking, like, how would that be freaking possible? He just moved in. There's no freaking way that is even feasible. Like, you literally just met. And then, because the mother smartly tells her, like, why don't you just go to the guy, talk to him about this and see if you can get this, like, straightened out. instead of just lobbing accusations. And of course, she does not do that. She gets her employees to start like snooping at this guy's shop and trying to find out what how he makes his recipe and see if it's like identical or not. And of course, it doesn't. She confronts this guy and accuses him of stealing. And of course, he says he didn't steal it, and she thinks he's after her stuff. And I can't help but think of SpongeBob SquarePants with Mr. Krabs and Plankton, and it's like, I kind of wish this movie would just kind of be a long, drawn out kind of war between these kind of things, because that would have been fun. It would be a lot more fun of a thing of the watch. Not that I hate the story that it gave me, but how much fun would it be? You just get these two just going back and forth with each other, trying to it's like it's this war between the hot chocolates, and and one of them acts like Plankton and the other Mr. Krabs, or they both are like Plankton or both Mr. Krabs, and just be at war with each other, just like I have just a little feud, and having each other's employees just like trying to find the other recipe. And the man mentions how he keeps his recipe in a safe, and I was like, that's just like Mr. Krabs. And Plankton goes over and try to often steal it, and it's just fun. That would have been funny, but of course it didn't end up like that, unfortunately. But like I said, how much fun would that have been? And of course, he just while going to this Christmas tree shopping, they bump into each other. They end up calling a truce after they had a little heart to heart, saying like, hey, basically just like, hey, I don't want your little recipe. I'm doing fine on my own. Like, there's only so many different ways you can make hot chocolate, and it's and so she's so like, I think this old lady's spirit is like haunting this girl or something. Definitely the mother, because she like, every so often when we talked about the mother, she gets so like, down and out, because I guess growing up at in this woman's house probably wasn't easy, because she's like, so seems like such a strict freaking lady, especially when it comes to her recipes. But Colette ended up getting the recipe from her eventually when she was going off to college, and that was not too long after when the grandmother passed. So she tells him about how she's planning on marketing the drink, even though he don't think is not a good idea, but he doesn't push it. It's like, you do what you want, but for me, I would not sell that recipe. It's, that kind of thing. Keep it in the family kind of situation. And of course, you can tell she's trepidatious because she keeps putting off signing the contract and everything like that with this, retail head hunter guy. So sometime later, after things kind of warm up between these two, Marcus's business starts like it was like an accidental fire, and I kind of glad, but kind of not, because it just turns out to be an accidental fire, and how more interesting of the movie would be. But then again, it'd probably be too long or adding too much to it. But it would be interesting to have like somebody on Colette's side of things, try to put him out of business so she can thrive because they just love her hot chocolate all the more, kind of thing. Of course, they don't play like that, but it'll part of they're like, okay, let's spice things up. Like that's what I'm saying. Like Mr. Krabs painting situations, like just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it just escalates to the point where it's like, okay, I didn't want this guy's establishment burned down. That's too far. Well, of course, it didn't turn out that way. Like it would have been fun. Uh, so she starts feeling bad and then starts like helping him out, suggesting that he still has all the pre-orders that he arranged before the fire. She suggested that he makes all the desserts over her establishment because she has the room and the kitchen for him to use, and he can sell out of her shop to help with because the bank won't provide a second loan. So now he's in kind of dire straits. Despite Colette's help and suggestions, and even suggesting to bring some of his stuff to the next festival so they can drum up business for him, and give him the money he needs to help rebuild. And then of course, like feelings starts to bubble up, and she eventually turns down signing that contract. Just wanted to keep the recipe to herself. By the way, you see these two people's houses. Yes, they have their own businesses, and that's great. And I imagine that turning a level of a profit, but not enough to where they have like very, very nice houses. And that guy just moved to this place, and he's like having a house that's like it's built for at least 3 people, and it's like, dude, 3 or 4 people, and it's like, dude, it's like, how y'all afford these very nice houses on a salary, on a business that's based off of, a cafe with desserts, and it's like, y'all can't be the only business around that has that kind of, items. It's weird. Like you should at least have like an apartment. You live in like y'all already live together or something, and it's about to start a family. That's like how y'all even paying for this? Like you don't just say like, oh, you're saved up for a very long time. That is a lot of a house. Anyway, Colette then eventually gets the idea, talks with Marcus's friend slash business partner into like putting this both establishments together and and merging. That way he can stick around because she has feelings for him, and that way he can also equally thrive. And they decided to name the new place after her grandmother because you come to realize Marcus, when he was a young kid, the place that he lived at until he had to move when he turned 11, he somehow, not somehow, he turns out he lived next door to Colette's grandmother. And when his mom passed, when he I don't know, I can't remember if he said it was like mom passed after he was born or when he was 3 or something like that, and his father was working a lot, so she kind of like became like a pseudo nanny, and she always fixed her little hot chocolate for him after he does his homework. And then when he had to eventually move, she taught him how to make this hot chocolate so that way he always have a piece of her with him. And that's when that's how like Colette finds out like how he got that same exact recipe. Like the grandmother provided that information to him. He's like the only other person that she told the secret recipe to. And it's like I kind of wish we know like what's the freaking recipe, because like as many people in this movie said, like how many ways can you make hot chocolate, and you never even establish what does she do that makes it all the more special and all the more fantastic. I kind of wish you had that information, because like what is so goddamn special about this hot chocolate, because the only certain amount of ways you can make hot chocolate. So yeah, the movie ends with these two coming together in a relationship and starting a business together as a couple, and it's a decent like Lifetime movie. I just, like I said, I just kind of wish this is more of like a like we can probably cut out the whole fire situation. That is kind of accidental fire. Don't know why you needed that added thing. I guess you needed a reason to merge these business together to weave that plot in, but you could just have them just decide to merge business and just cut out the whole fire situation. Period. And just have for the most of the like second half of the first act and the bulk of the second act, these two doing the whole Mr. Krabs Plankton War of Restaurants situation going on. That would have been a lot more fun and entertaining. Just these wacky, you're already cheesy Lifetime movie. You might as well, add in some bit of like levity and fun. Well, it's not that it doesn't have levity, but it's just like, come on, just have some fun with it. It's like one, store is confusing, is accusing another store of stealing their thing. Is SpongeBob. It's basically SpongeBob. But I mean, it's harmless. It's like not necessarily like one of my favorite Lifetime Hallmark things that I've seen, but it's better than most. And I thought it was just a nice little quirky little thing. These two recipes, and these two people just like, and then this woman goes out of her way just to try to plot and find that recipe so she can prove he stole it. But anyway, I do recommend it. At least look at it once. You'll get a feel of what I'm talking about, and you can let me know. Yeah, like, yeah, it would have been a whole lot more fun. These two just went at it with each other and trying to like figure out each other's recipes and counter moving each other and try to sabotage each other. It's just fun. That would have been a whole lot of fun. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit. I got another Christmas movie to review with you guys. It's kind of a classic, depending on your point of view of it. But anyway, don't forget to follow me in the links in the description below. Hit that like button, notification bell, share this with your friends,